This is the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast with your host, Kevin Murray.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. I'm excited to welcome a new guest to the show from Football Guys. It's Mike Kash. Welcome in, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I saw in the intro you have, fantasy footballers, Matthew Berry, and weird to be on the same podcast that they've been on.
Well, obviously love to spread the love. There's a lot of incredible contributors in this fantasy space, in all corners of the country and all different experiences in this space. But everybody's story to me is interesting and fascinating. So looking forward to diving in and getting to understand your background a little bit more. For listeners and viewers that might be unfamiliar with your work, what are you up to in 2026?
Yeah, so 2026, it's mostly Football Guys. I helped with the rookie guide, doing player spotlights. I have one coming out on Amari and Hampton coming up soon. Really just a lot of how the rookies are going to shape the fantasy landscape in 2026. And I'll probably get some of the first looks at 2027, making big boards throughout the offseason and into the college football season. I'm really excited to dive into what is such an exceptional class. Like, I love football as a whole, not just the fantasy stuff. So, the edge rushers are great. The offensive linemen are great. Obviously, the quarterbacks, receivers, that's really fun. So if you are interested in rookies, you're interested in scouting, I am one of your guys, but there's plenty.
I love it. Well, obviously, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into that, which is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to pick your brain a little bit on that stuff. But obviously, you got a passion for sports. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about growing up. Who were your favorite teams? Where'd you grow up? Who were your favorite teams and players across the sports spectrum?
Yeah, so I grew up an hour north of Philly. So all of my friends were Eagles fans back with Donovan McNabb and, Westbrook and all those great teams. But my entire family is from Pittsburgh. So I grew up with a black and gold bedroom. I have the Steelers flag behind me. There wasn't an option. Some of my first memories are rolling into the living room. Dad has the football game on. We're watching the Steelers because that's what we do on Sundays. So I love the Steelers. I love the Penguins. I love the Sixers. I like soccer a little bit. I'm excited for the World Cup this year. The national team gets me fired up. So just growing up with that era, I'm almost 30. I'm afraid of that date, but still in my 20s, still in my prime. Not a Dynasty still yet. So growing up with Alan Faneca, Heath Miller, Ben Roethlisberger, that generation of Steelers and being able to watch a couple of Super Bowls, I was hooked. There was no way you could beat being 10 years old and watching a Super Bowl win.
Well, I will say that does bring up a little sore subject. Yeah, as a Seahawks fan, we've moved on past that Super Bowl once upon a time, but the refs totally hosed us. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened that game.
Even as a Steelers fan, I can admit Ben did not get across the line.
No, he did not.
Still would have won, but he definitely didn't get across the line.
I love it. It was. I think we, as a Seahawks fan, kind of moved on past that. Had more, joyous times and some more heartbreak. Obviously, Marshawn not getting the ball on the goal line. Bring up goal lines. That's another sore topic for me. But as a sports fan, what's the worst loss you ever experienced?
Yeah, so the worst loss that I've experienced as a Sixers fan, I had a roommate at a school that I was at, and we're both big 76ers fans. He's from Philly. I'm from an hour north of Philly. We love him. It's the Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz. We finally feel good. The process is over. And then they're playing the Raptors. It's the quadruple dunk, doink off of the rim. After we've already dropped the confetti, we think that we're moving on. And next thing we know, the Raptors are winning everything, and the Sixers are still the Sixers. So excited for another second-round loss next year.
I love it. Now, are you a Phillies fan too?
Not a big baseball guy, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
So, I would play. I just can't watch unless it's a minor league team and we're having beers, we're having dogs, we're having a good time. Didn't grow up with it, so.
Well, obviously, you mentioned the Sixers and there's some tough runs there, but had it been fun if you were an Iverson fan growing up?
Yeah, I was a little young for Iverson at his peak of his powers, but just, being a 6 foot something chubby guy, seeing Allen Iverson. There wasn't a lot I could relate to, but I was like, man, this is awesome. Fired up that someone can do this. I cannot.
Yeah, he was incredible to watch in his prime for sure. Now, talking about the special times in sports, when you think about your favorite memories, what do you got?
I mean, it's going to sound cheesy, but like I would not trade the 2005 Pittsburgh Steelers season for absolutely anything. Like I would trade my car right now if you said it was either that or that season. Like I'm 10 years old. I get to grow up like seeing my dad watch every single game, watching that with my family, with my brothers. My favorite game from that season was the Steelers-Bears. It's December. There's a playoff run on the line. They have to win their last 4 or 5 in order to even make the playoffs. And just Jerome Bettis in the snow with my dad watching, not live, but from our living room, and just the joy on his face. And then that just imparted like a love of football onto me because, I mean, it felt unstoppable. He meets Brian Urlacher on a little ISO at the goal line, trucks him, runs it. Like you can't beat that feeling, and just jumping up and down with your family. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, I'll put my bitterness aside for that 2005, just so you can have that joy, because it's true. I think my favorite answer when I ask that question to guests is one that is connected to something more than just, your favorite team winning. You connect it to a family experience, and those are the kind of things that make sports so special. I love to hear that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Did you get to share like a special family experience with the Seahawks run this year? Like get to share those moments? Because I was watching the Seahawks this year. I'm like, this is awesome. Sam Darnold, castaway, no one cares. Like there must have been special moments.
Well, it was different. It was unique. I mean, obviously, the LOB era was quite special up here in the Pacific Northwest, just because, you got to see them, kind of just be a feisty, gritty group. Pete Carroll bringing in energy to the city after a great run with Holmgren, but just rejuvenated fandom in this area, and then with all the characters. I mean, just again the LOB, and then Russ, just coming out of kind of nowhere and being so electric and so fun, and then a gritty group of wide receivers, and then Marshawn. Like that was I guess how you'd want to dream it up is a team that you kind of grow with and see them find success. See them kind of, not get there, but then come back. I would love to have flipped it though. When it comes to, losing to the Patriots and beating the Broncos, I'd love to flip that because it certainly left kind of a hole right there. And obviously a little redemption this year beating the Patriots. But this group is just totally different because no one had expectations for them to be so successful. Kind of came out of nowhere. So I think for the general casual fan in the area, this season and moving forward, it's going to be kind of like, oh, let's get to know these guys that just won the Super Bowl, because it really was out of nowhere. So same kind of experiences with family members and friends, kind of the same group that kind of enjoyed the LOB run, got to kind of come back together and enjoy this one. So it was certainly special, just a little different than that first time.
For sure. That's cool.
Now, with fantasy sports, obviously, you don't want to dive into that. When did you discover fantasy sports for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, so growing up with that Steelers era, I was really big on back when NFL Network would only play like deep dives on rosters and old teams, and you really get to dive into real analysis every single season. So I would throw that on before I go to school, throw it on first thing when I come home from school. I'm doing my homework. So I could name like every player on every team at every position. So then friends would come to me and be like, hey, I'm in a fantasy league with my dad, or like, hey, we're doing this. And like, this is late elementary school, middle school. And I'm like, oh, this is a great year for, Priest Holmes. And then over time, I was like, what if I started getting into it? So it started with just kind of helping friends out. And then over time, I was like, what if I tried to play and then get those friends together? So probably started middle school-ish, but There wasn't an exact moment where I was like, yes, I'm into fantasy now. It's just, I always loved football, and then fantasy was just another way to get involved with it.
I love it. Well, after this short little break, we're going to dive deep into your passion for this game. So what is it you love most about this game of fantasy football?
Yeah, I mean, it's twofold. So there's parts of it where it can make the meaningless game still fun. Like there's no reason that I should care about a Browns Cardinals game or a Jets Commanders back when the Commanders were really stinky. But you still throw it on because you're like, man, I got Brees Hall on my roster. Got to see if he's going to score or not. So it makes those games just a little bit more fun. And then after starting writing, I've kind of been introduced to this community. It was always a way to stay in touch with friends, but now it's a way for me to make friends, keep friends. Like I've had guys that, I'm just in fantasy leagues with, we've never met in real life. We only talk about ball. And I'm getting life updates like, hey, just had my kid. I know you're a dad. Do you have any advice? Like, hey, we're going through some hard times. Can we be a little late on league dues? Like to be there for other people is just so cool, and to connect with people you wouldn't normally.
Yeah, that is certainly the magic of the fantasy football community. We're going to dive into that a bunch, but let's talk about your experience playing the game. Talk about like a home league. Is there one league to you that's like the main league for you, the one that you got to win?
Yeah, it's going to be like a common theme through a lot of these things. It's not a real home league where you think about like where I'm from, all the friends. It's like this hodgepodge, co-workers from over the years and friends from over the years. And you just keep inviting people piecemeal. And now it's been together for, 5 or 6 years. And over time, it has grown into something called the Fantasy Football Masters, where the winner gets sent a sport coat every year, like you won the Masters. So you're getting pictures of guys holding their newborn in their Fantasy Football Masters shirt, or, doing home improvement projects, wearing their jacket to be like, hey, just a reminder, I won last year. So that's kind of what the home league has become, with moving around a lot.
I love it. Well, that's obviously a fun tradition in a fantasy league. Have you experienced anything else when it comes to just, ways to make a fantasy league more fun, or that you've encountered?
Yeah, we had a family league that ran for a while, but cousins got old and their girls and decided that they didn't want to do it anymore, which they were normally awesome at it. So I don't know why they stopped. But the winner each season would get to update a rule. So by the time that we were getting ready to kind of phase out of that version of the league, there was no points per reception, 2 tight ends, like 8 flex spots, but no running back spot. Like it was just this abomination of a league that I can prep for everything else. Like I give advice to people all the time. I walk into that draft, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. Hands up, we'll try our best.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. I love the chaos that can be, a league like that. And it is true, like home leagues, with family, friends, they can change over time. And sometimes people kind of grow in and out of the game just because of, life events. But it's fun to look back on stuff like that for sure. Now, in all the leagues you play in, is there a rival? Like, is there one person that you got to beat when you play fantasy football?
Yeah, so I hosted the Fantasy Football RPG podcast for a while. It was with a couple of friends, Evan, Corey, Eric, and my old co-host Evan is one of the sharpest dudes that I know. He's also the biggest pain in my butt because we'll be texting late at night. We're in like 14 Dynasty leagues together because we have problems. And it's just like, hey, if Alvin Kamara scores 12 but not 14, I'll beat you in 2 leagues. It's like,
nice.
We're always connected in these leagues, and it's just, I wish that I could beat him more, but he's just too smart and he gets me.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, you got to have rivals in fantasy, and a lot of times it is that person that you talked with the most about the game that is the person you got to beat. So, Gotta love that. Do you have an all-time favorite moment playing this great game?
Yeah, my dad won our family league the very first year that we had it. I made a little trophy so we could pass it around over the years and, add your name to the back. And I remember giving it to him and him walking around with it. Like he carried that thing with him for probably a month, just holding it everywhere, taking it to work, sending us pictures in our fantasy chat when it's like April and most people don't really care that much about it. He's still holding the trophy, so excited about it. And it stinks because I came in second that year, but he told me he won because he listened to my silly little podcast at the time. So cool that he was able to win, but bummed it wasn't me.
Yeah, he didn't split the winnings or anything, or give you a tip for the advice?
It was completely for free. It was just the trophy, just bragging rights, and he got the trophy and bragging rights for a full year.
Well, obviously leagues that can to survive and thrive just on pure pride or what it's all about. A little football guys plug here, the home league show. Joey Wright and I, we talk about all these home league experiences, ways to make your league special and fun, all kind of a spin-off of the Commissioner's Playbook. So you love fantasy leagues, if you love fantasy league experiences, if you're a commissioner out there, definitely check those things out. Let's dive into just talking about that content and where your origins came from. When you first started playing the game, was there content out there that you consumed, different analysts out there that you really followed early on?
I mean, way back in the day, you're just throwing on NFL Network and ESPN, and whoever is on at the time becomes who it is. But as I got more serious about it and start playing in more money leagues and trying to care just a little bit more, I listened a lot to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. Like, so entertaining. They have a great just synergy among the three of them. And then, funny enough, I listened to Football Guys like 10 years ago, and now, wearing the hat right for them. It's a super cool experience being able to just text Dave and Jeff and Bob and be like, what do you think about this? Like, I'm workshopping this take, I'm researching this player, and just bouncing ideas off of the guys that I was listening to without them ever knowing I existed.
That's awesome. I gotta love that. We do have matching Football Guys hats right now. So if you're just listening to the show, I mean, there's that. When it comes to content, though, what was it that really kind of inspired you to dive into the community and start doing content?
Yeah. So what originally started it, I always had a deep love for football, a deep love for sports. And I just Googled like how to write about football and get paid for it because all my friends had side hustles and I wanted a side hustle. And I started writing at Last Word on Sports, which is just, a big blog, rose through the ranks there. But as I was trying to find ways to promote my articles, I started guesting on a couple of podcasts, and I guested on Fantasy Football RPG, which I ended up becoming a host for a couple of years, and Chuck Bass's show back when he did This Guy Sucks. And when I finished recording with Chuck, it was my second ever episode that I had ever thrown headphones on, tried to record. And he was just like, dude, you're good at this. You should do it more. And I, when you're first starting, you have like imposter syndrome. I'm worried about this. And I just realized that there are people out there that want you to succeed. So if you don't like my work, blame Chuck. And if you do like my work, also blame Chuck.
That's fantastic. And I talked about your experience with Football Guys and, them discovering you and how that's gone so far.
Yeah. So about a year and a half, 2 years ago, they put out a big thing saying, hey, we're hiring. I've been listening to the show. I've been reading the articles. I've been doing all of the things for Football Guys for years. And I saw there was an opportunity, and I took the portfolio I built at Last Word on Sports, included all of that in my application. And when I showed up, I was just the new guy ready to rock and roll, and just DM Dave, DM Bob was just like, anything I can do to help, let me know. And now, I did quarterbacks and tight ends for the rookie guide. I write an unholy amount and would like to continue to keep writing. So it's just been an awesome environment and just a great community of people that, we can hang out right now. And it feels like we're just talking with friends.
Yeah, it's obviously a great team and some amazing people at Football Guys. Definitely want to shout them out. When it comes to your content, though, like how would you describe it? Like, what's your style of content?
Yeah, I think it's a blend of like hard-hitting film with a little bit. I was an economics major, so I do use numbers as guide rails, but I still want to be at the core of understanding the game of football and how that relates to fantasy to provide actionable intel. But also, I have a soft spot for memes and making jokes and trying to make it a little bit funny. Probably not as funny as I'd like to be on an interview, but if you check out the memes, I've heard they're medium.
I love it. What about your passion for Dynasty and all that? Obviously you're talking rookie guy, you're talking about the 2027 class, which anybody that's in Dynasty is giddy about that. Mm-hmm. Where did that passion for Dynasty come from? And just football and incorporating college and NFL all together.
It's just a great way for the two different things that I'm excited about. You can stay connected with those league mates year round because you're in trade offers, you're making waiver claims, you're texting people about news, the valuations always change. But then also just the deep love of football, you're able to get first in with the rookies. You're able to evaluate players and what their new role will be and how that impacts their value. So if you have a deep love of football and you want to stay connected all the time, I think Dynasty is one of the best outlets for it, if not the best.
It is a ton of fun. And you teased, a little bit, talk about 2027 class. Share some words on that, because again, anybody that's in Dynasty, they're giddy about it. I've seen multiple, Dynasty drafts this year, and this 2026 class is uniquely, boring. A lot of people trying to kick those picks from this year to next. Is it real? Like, is it really going to be something special? And then on top of that, just from an NFL perspective, again, as a Seahawks fan, we got double-digit picks in 2027. So as a fan, I want to know more about what this 2027 has. Or 2027 class has.
So the 2027 class, what's nice about it for both the Seahawks and your Dynasty team, if you're set at quarterback, I talk about quarterbacks coming out like they're coin flips. Every single year you can take the early guys. Last year it was Drew Allar, Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik. You flip those coins. If they come up heads, they're first-round picks. If it comes up tails, maybe they go back to school, or they're not first-round picks. There's more coins than ever. And when you start flipping 8, 9, 10 coins, you're expecting 5 or 6 first-round quarterbacks. That will push other talent down the board. We're looking at 3 running backs that are better than the RB2 in the 2026 class. We're looking at maybe 5 or 6 wide receivers that are in that Jordan Tyson tier, Carnell Tate tier. So there's just a much larger depth, and then also high-end quarterback talent that will push the rest of the talent down. So if you're picking at 10 in your rookie drafts right now, you're probably sad. You're staring at a player and you're like, I don't know if I want to pick this.
Or 6.
It gets tough quick.
Yeah.
Next year, you're staring at 10 and you're like, oh, this was a top 15 wide receiver talent who went 19 because quarterbacks pushed him down. And now you're able to get better talent back into your first round. Maybe even
that's a great summary. I mean, it seems like it seems like that's the consensus thought, and it applies, like you said, to both, right? I mean, I'm excited about those second round picks in dynasty drafts, just because, like exactly you said, it's going to push those talented players, and you not only have all these quarterback cases, which you don't how many of those are actually going to turn out. Doesn't matter, because if it's a class that's loaded in a ton of different positions in the NFL, it's going to push players back. And again, same thing applies to Dynasty, like you said. I'm giddy about it. I'm hoping that it works out, because in most of my Dynasty leagues, I'm pretty set at quarterback, but I would love to take advantage of great players being pushed down. So exciting stuff for sure.
I'm fired up for the class. And then also, if you love edge rushers, there's not like a premium guy at the top, but there's probably 4 or 5 that are going to be competent NFL starters out the gate. And we're in May. It's way too early to have this many guys we're excited about.
Very exciting. Very excited. So when it comes to playing the game, any strong philosophies do you have that you stand by, things that you just kind of, move with in fantasy?
I think the strongest philosophy that I hold is just have fun with it. We get caught up in the numbers. We want to be the best that we can possibly be. I'm a naturally competitive person, so I want to win. I want to be the best. But also just have fun along the ride. Check in on your friends. Use it as an opportunity to connect. Make jokes about your friend that got a 0 in his flex spot because he's silly. Take the time to have fun with it, because maybe you'll make money, maybe you won't. It's going to ebb and flow over the years. If you subscribe to Football Guys, you will make money 99% of the time. But have fun on the ride. Have a good time. Draft the players you like. Root for the players you want to, because there's nothing to replace that excitement on Sundays and excitement on Monday night when you're texting your friend and saying, man, if George Pickens scores 20 here, it's over. And in the first quarter, he gets an 80-yard bomb, and now the rest of the game, you're just both stressed. That's irreplaceable.
I love it. It's perfectly said, because it's true. The foundation of this game, no matter how you're playing it, I mean, it's really about having fun. That's when you're going to get the most out of fantasy. So beautiful words right there. So with this time, in the industry, doing your thing, what's been the most rewarding part of this experience for you?
The most rewarding part has just been trying to grow in each role that I get. And as happens, I'm able to expand and reach more people with just growing the game, helping them understand, and helping, like, you get a text from somebody or a DM on Twitter, hey, should I start this guy or sit this guy? Hey, should I trade this player for this player? And like, just having the opportunity to connect with more people and help them have fun with the game that we have fun with, it's been super awesome. And then to have that kind of platform grow, it's cool that more people are like, hey, Mike, what do you think about this? And, 10 years ago, it was just guys at the lunch table, and now it's guys on the internet.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And obviously, with fantasy, there is just, there's a ton of content out there. We could talk about how great Football Guys is for days and days, because it's a phenomenal site, incredible content for sure. But when it comes to you just doing research and aside from Football Guys, like, what are some of your favorite brands and sites and channels and analysts out there?
Yeah, so some of my favorite guys outside of Football Guys, because we need to put that caveat there, I think Fantasy Calc does an exceptional job with their site. It takes real trades from across leagues and real startup ADP and turns that into actionable rankings and actionable trade calculator. Like, it's easy for us to go on Keep Trade Cut and, click a couple of buttons so you can get to the calculator. The way that Fantasy Calc is set up, that it eliminates the guys just clicking through. It's actual leagues, actual trades, which I think is super useful and super helpful. Jetpack Galileo has been kind of a mentor of mine, and I'll probably shout him out continually as we go on with this, but just exceptional film mind, exceptional guy. He taught me how to make thumbnails when I was learning how to make red blue on a background, and just it was willing to take me under his wing. And I think everything that he does with the astronauts is cool. And it's also like a self plug. I help with them sometimes, but the astronauts are great. And then also just the Ringer Fantasy Football Show, going back to keeping it fun, having a good time with it. Their draft website, exceptional. The way that they portray their content, where you don't feel like you're learning, but then at the end you're like, oh, I actually know exactly who to pick in the 7th round of my fantasy football draft. It's because they portray the information in a fun, informative, and exciting way. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's an important part of the fantasy content creation space is also entertainment, right? You want to have a place for people to go and just enjoy the content. And obviously, the places that you've named definitely do that. I love the fantasy astronaut shout out. I remember when they just arrived and started, putting out content and stuff. So that's cool. Still waiting on Fantasy Jetpack Galileo to give me a follow. I mean, that guy has been doing incredible stuff for a long time. I've been a huge fan. Can you name some of the people that have just uplifted you along the way? Some of the people that have had a big impact on you during your journey thus far. I know you obviously have named several thus far, but is anyone else?
Yeah, underrated, but probably a lot of people haven't heard of him doing this. David Latham is one of the managing editors at Last Word on Sports, and I was figuring out what Grammarly was and how to type words correctly, and he just really professionalize the way that I portray my information so that it can be published on the internet and people can read it. So David Latham, Last Word on Sports, huge shout there. Drew Crabtree, also on that team. I mean, Dave and Jeff have both just kind of team huddled me and taught me how to be a football guy through and through. So big shout out to them. And then I've already talked about Jetpack. Chuck Bass, already talked about him. Jagger and Alfredo, two guys that I just feel like I can always text or talk to them about anything and bounce ideas off of them, and being able to kind of talk to Jagger about some rookie takes and not feel like it's a judgment zone. It's just a real idea zone. Like, he just kind of makes you feel safe and cozy. And then on the timeline, he'll roast you and it's fun.
I love that. Now, obviously, you mentioned some incredible people, and again, that's what this fantasy football community is all about. Some incredible people out there, always uplifting and supporting those people. Do you have any advice for anybody right now, though, that is looking to get more involved into content creation, kind of following along in kind of the path that you went on, just wants to be more involved in the fantasy space?
I mean, honestly, just the hardest thing is to start. Once you start, somebody's going to find you, or don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, how does this look? It's Kentucky Bourbon Guy, I think is his name on Twitter. Like, he just sends me DMs of his running back takes and it's like, how does this look? And will just bounce ideas off of me. You can't do that until you start. So if you're saying, hey, I'm thinking about starting a podcast, hey, I'm thinking about writing, I'm thinking about doing Twitter threads, I'm thinking about, stop thinking. Take the leap, start putting pen to paper, start turning on the microphone, and just kind of fine tune it from there and figure out what brings you joy, what is informative for people, how can you help the people around you. And if you keep those 3 things in mind, like, the rest will fall into place.
Beautiful, beautiful advice. That's good stuff right there. And right after this this little break, we're gonna talk more about the fantasy football community, kind of put a bow on that, and then dive into some rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little bit more. So, how much have these relationships meant to you, kind of on and off the field? I guess in the fantasy football community, again, I think one of the things people notice the most is just how much these relationships have affected them. Again, in content, in fantasy, but also just personally. You mentioned earlier, just meeting people and then, getting life updates. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's cool how much the internet persona and how much you can talk to people in DMs carries over to real life. Like, most of the people that do this are genuinely fantastic human beings that just want to help people at home. And I went down to the Senior Bowl this last year, drove through an ice storm, and I met Z from Football Guys. Now he's at 32 Beat Writers. I met Michael from Dynasty Dogs, and just meeting these people in person, you've only ever talked on the internet. You've never shook hands, hung out, and all of a sudden you feel like you're just hanging out with your buddies at a bar. Like, those internet friends become real life friends, and those real life friends eventually become people that you're looking for. Like, I cannot wait for next year's Senior Bowl because I get to see my internet friends again. And, Chuck sends me mail that's normally just his random things that he's trying to get rid of because he's being annoying to me, but it's still funny. I have a Florida Gators cooler for some reason. Neither of us went to Florida.
I mean, that's Chuck Bass right there. I mean, that doesn't surprise me one bit. And he's obviously one part of this incredible community. So many great people. That's why I'll always, recommend people getting out to the Fantasy Football Expo, doing live SFB drafts. The Scott Fish Bowl has expanded so much. It's in so many different cities and countries these days. Anytime you can get out to one of these events, it makes a huge difference, an impact on your life. You mentioned meeting people, internet friends, like they become real life connections. And these events certainly, they create that opportunity to connect and grow with people. I love that you mentioned the Senior Bowl though, because that's another event especially for diehard, Dynasty folks and people breaking down rookie classes. Like, the Senior Bowl is a specific little niche that has a huge following, and a lot of people I know that they love that trip. It's such a memorable trip, just like you described each year. Can't wait to get back down with your people and break down those rookies. So I love you bringing up those Senior Bowl as one of those kind of fantasy football type of events that can have an impact.
Mm-hmm. It's the way they put it on. It's not just like the on-field stuff is cool. They also did a mixer one night at a speakeasy, and you're able to, look across and you're seeing national reporters and agents for players, and maybe like a player that probably shouldn't be there because they practice the next day. And it's just like me and my Dynasty friends trying to decide who to take at the 305 in a pre-draft draft.
I love it.
There's that player.
That's awesome. Now, all good stuff for sure. Let's dive into some rapid fire questions. Yeah, kind of a GOAT themed segment where we're talking about, greatest of all time from your perspective. We'll talk a little football, but also just more life stuff, kind of get to know you a little bit better. So we'll kick it off with your favorite all-time fantasy football player and why.
Yeah, I mean, it's Larry Fitzgerald, like steady, consistent, dependable. I'm not describing an F-150, but also during that 2007 playoff run, we did a weird playoff fantasy challenge for my friends and my family. And I felt like the smartest middle schooler alive because I drafted Larry Fitzgerald, and I'm just watching him go off, have one of the best runs of all time. I'm sorry the Steelers took away that Super Bowl from him, but also that was pretty cool too. Just being able to see Larry, a Pitt guy, blossom in the NFL, stay with one team, be dependable, just an exceptional human on and off the field. And it felt cool to have him on fantasy teams.
I love that. That's a great answer because he truly was an easy guy to like and follow and appreciate because he's phenomenal on and off the field, just like you described. How about an all-time favorite TV show for you?
Yeah, this is going to sound nerdy, but it's Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's
Okay.
probably, a little after your time, but my best friend and I have matching Tui and La tattoos, the ocean and the moon spirit. So
Nice.
whenever we see each other, we, line them up and we're goofy and stuff, but it just dove into really specific and hard-hitting topics that a lot of kids shows wouldn't enter. And like, maybe it wasn't really a kids show because there's a giant war going on, but it was just a fantastic watch. And I cannot wait to watch it with my kids.
It's a great answer, and it's okay to be nerdy in fantasy football, right?
Yeah.
No, that's a good one. How about an all-time favorite movie for you?
Yep. Sharp Left Turn and Glorious Bastards.
Okay.
Very quotable, very rewatchable. You can just like have it on in the background if you want to, type away at something, or you can watch it all the way through dialed in and like quote it to your buddy sitting next to you. Just fantastic show.
There we go. How about an all-time favorite sports movie?
Let's Remember the Titans. Every single time my wife says she wants water, I go, water makes you weak. Water for washing the blood off your uniform. And she's probably sick of it, but great movie.
That is what makes movies in general and TV shows special. Is it's the lines, right? It's the memorable lines, for sure. How about an all-time favorite video game for you?
It's Pokemon Fire Red. If anybody wants to catch these hands on Pokemon Showdown, shoot me a DM on Twitter. I'm a giant Pokemon nerd. You probably don't know what Pokemon Showdown is, but grew up with it, love it, can name way too many Pokemon. I still play in my free time.
Also, you collect cards? You collect Pokemon cards? I mean, obviously that's been a big thing.
We're in a weird stage, so I have a toddler at home, so she likes opening the cards, but I can't collect them. They become what they are, and she has fun with them.
Oh, I love it. How about a best meal ever? Either a meal you've had that you recall as the greatest ever, or your last meal, your last meal ever.
Yeah, I'm gonna go best meal that I've already had. It was football, 2-a-days. We're grinding, and there was a like tiny little bar in Macungie, Pennsylvania that probably isn't there anymore. But they would do all-you-can-eat wings on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And you finish 2-a-days, you get the all-you-can-eat wings. They come with fries. And I just remember like sitting around that table with all my teammates and chowing down and just having the time of my life. I've never had wings that tasted so good, and it's probably because I was so tired.
That's a perfect answer. How about an all-time favorite beverage? Like, what is the GOAT? What's the beverage for you?
Yeah, it's a cold beer after mowing the lawn. I'll accept no feedback. Like, you just finished a hot day in the summer sun. You crack one cold beer to indicate like my work here is done. Daddy's home, and it's just great.
There it is. What's your favorite all-time band or musician or artist?
Yeah, I'm on a Hosier kick right now, but I think Eric Church is probably like my most streamed or most listened to artist of all time.
Okay.
I just connect with his music a lot. I think there's a lot of meaning behind the jokes about cold beer or the play on words, and I could just sit in my living room and listen to Eric Church forever and be happy.
Good stuff. How about an all-time favorite vacation you've been on?
Yeah, I went to Alaska with my wife for 2 weeks. Saw my mom and my stepdad while we were there. And the first week was, Anchorage, seeing the touristy sites. We did like a little sled dog meet and greet thing, which was super cool. And then the second week, I went backpacking alone in Denali, and just being out alone in a giant expanse of nature like that, like just never felt more in touch with the earth. And I was able to see a moose up on a ridge that I thought, wow, that's up there. Like, that's pretty far. And then I realized I had to climb that ridge to go to my next camping site. And as I walked up there, I waited until the moose had left for probably a couple hours because I don't feel like messing with them. Yeah. And I mean, their hoof prints were the size of my head. Just unreal. Massive animals.
That sounds like a real good one. How about a bucket list travel destination for you?
It's a toss-up between Japan and France. Like, do I really want to lean into my nerdy side, go to Japan? They have like a Pokemon theme park, great sushi, like a cool culture shift. Or France. I took French for 6 or 7 years. Want to be the romantic guy with my wife, but there's no Pokemon in France, so that's kind of a deal breaker for me.
That's a good one. No, I would say Japan definitely is on my list. We're trying to figure out a way to get it out there the next couple of years. So that's a good one for sure. I will be going to Greece in a couple weeks, for a couple weeks, and we're finishing in Paris for a few days. So
Okay.
I'll keep you posted on how that goes.
Yeah, you'll have to text me before you go to Greece. I spent a lot of time there.
Okay, I love it. Now, before we wrap things up, I'm just teased by your 2027 draft content, but also again, just this 2026 draft. Can you just kind of break down, just off the top of your head, just some of the players you are most excited for from this questionable class, and some that you are most kind of concerned about
from 2026?
Yeah.
I'm most excited to see what happens with the other running backs in the class. So I thought Jadarian Price was good and just stuck behind a bad situation at Notre Dame. Like, Seahawks believed in him. We'll see how that goes. Like, I'm excited to see if he becomes what they want him to be. Jonah Coleman. Yeah, for sure. Jonah Coleman believed in the talent. He's just slow and he's 5'4". So
yeah,
maybe he becomes the J.K. Dobbins as J.K. Dobbins ages out, or he's just another on a list of day 3 running backs. I think Damon Claiborne is one of the most explosive guys in the class, not even just straight line speed. I think he can make a guy miss in a phone booth. I think he knows how to read his blocks downfield. Is he the Aaron Jones replacement, or is he a depth piece? Like, is he a part of the plan, or is he a hopeful option? So really just want to see what happens with all those guys. I am worried about the Jets. Just Omar Cooper. I don't see the separation ability that we expect. The way that he breaks tackles is more by like body contortion than physical strength or translatable play speed. So I've never evaluated a guy and said, well, he can bend his leg at a 90-degree angle and that will work still. So I'm worried if it'll translate or not. I hope it does. And then Kenyon Sadiq, a physical freak. Why wasn't he good at Oregon if he's a freak? So
good question.
I think his teammate at Oregon is also a first-round tight end, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm a little worried about the Jets, as most people are all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely fits the narrative around the Jets. But I love that I asked that question. I know I needed to ask that question because I got a lot of Damon Claiborne in my leagues, and so didn't know you were bringing him to the table. But that's what I needed to hear. So I'm excited. That's the fun part about Dynasty is there's diamonds out there. It's fun to kind of see how it shapes out. It doesn't happen immediately. You can kind of you can roll with these deep pieces for a couple years and see what happens. And sometimes they grow into something special. And that's really, to me, what gets you with Dynasty is you take those leaps and you manage that roster and you see what happens. There's always hope, right, in Dynasty.
You're just selling hope and hoping that it actually works.
I love it. Now, good stuff. Obviously, great answers to all these questions. What are you most grateful at this time?
I mean, I'm really grateful for the support my wife and my family gives me, like being able to take the time, come down here and chat with you, go to the living room. I'm also in night school. I also have a day job. I also have, I play rugby for fun, like doing all of those things. And my wife's still just like, sure, take the time that you need. So I support you. I love you. You got this. Like, you deserve to be here. And it's just like nice to have that person in my corner all the time. And, yeah, I mean, that's the cheesy answer. The other thing I'm grateful for is that the Pittsburgh Steelers have a quarterback for 1 year. That's all I can say. 1 year, maybe.
Okay, well, we can't close yet because tell me about Drew Aller, and then tell me about also Mendoza. Like, what do we think he's going to do?
Yeah, Aller, it's a full retool rebuild. The mechanics are awful. The mentality seems to have shifted away. He declared after having a pretty severe injury. I wonder why he didn't try to go back to school. I don't know if Penn State still wanted him there. Like, he can throw a strawberry through a battleship if the battleship is within his range, because he's just all over the place. So if we can just dial in that arm strength, dial in those mechanics, like the tools are there. I comped him 2 years ago to Josh Allen if Josh Allen realized he was mortal, because Josh just runs like he can't be touched, and Alar realizes that he can. So scary there. Mendoza, he doesn't have the same, when we talk about upside in quarterbacks, we're talking about their rushing ability, but I think he has upside as a red zone passer and as a pocket passer. He could have a couple of those QB1 spike seasons, but I think for 2026, we need to be extremely patient. He is going to sit behind Cousins. The Raiders want him to sit. They want to have a plan. So it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't see the field for a while this year. And that's probably best. Like, there's no one better to learn behind right now than Kirk Cousins, as long as Cousins understands that he needs to mentor him. It didn't work out in Atlanta because he thought he was going to be the starter, but I think he's aware of what he's walking into in Las Vegas. And I think that's going to be a fun combo for this year. And I mean, they're already doing commercials and they're hilarious.
I know. I think it does seem like a good fit and a good situation for a young quarterback like Mendoza. And with Alar, I mean, who knows? But hey, you got Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how that goes this year. I had to ask a little bit more of those football questions, but we're going to close things out. Is there anything else you want to share before we close things out on this show?
No, I mean, subscribe to Football Guys, but before you do that, like and subscribe this channel. Follow Kevin and all of his work. Like, I've listened to a couple of episodes of this, and they're all awesome, fun. You get to know people that you wouldn't normally get to know. So thank you for having me on and giving me the chance to talk about Inglourious Bastards and Avatar: The Last Airbender and Pokemon a little bit.
Of course, and we cover it all. I honestly, I really love, getting to know people on this show, and I love it for others, because there's countless people that will go to fantasy events, the expo or whatnot, and do some research on a show like this before they talk to someone that they really want to get to know and connect with, and it gives them some intel, gives them some behind the scenes, which I think the whole point is just to make people relatable and hear their journeys, get a little more courage to kind of dive into this space and get more involved. And you can apply this stuff to every walk of life for the most part. All great stories, and yours was exceptional. Loved hearing it from you. Pleasure to have you on here. Best of luck moving forward. And before we close, tell the listeners where to find you and your work. I know you mentioned Football Guys, but you specifically.
You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at FFMikeCash. Lots of written stuff at Football Guys, some written stuff at the Astronauts. But really, just go over to Twitter, go over to Blue Sky, give me a follow, shoot me a DM if you're thinking about starting and you want to bounce ideas, bounce threads off. Just talk ball.
There we go. Love it. Thanks for coming on, and we'll definitely stay connected here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. Until next time, be sure to follow and subscribe to all of FFU's social media accounts for daily content.